Yo, what is up guys? Welcome to another Wild Rift video. And I know that I did a tier list like last week, but the meta has already shifted so much. And as you can see, the first tier list, which is the mid lane tier list, is already so much different from the last one. So if you just want to skip around in the video to the bot lane or support or whatever, timestamps in the description, like always. And I'm running a skin giveaway, giving away 10 skins this month. All you gotta do, put down a comment under this video and under some other videos to, increase your chance. Okay, so let's start in the mid lane. And I already want to talk about Katarina. Now, Katarina used to be in the S++ tier. Like not S+, but S++, which means utterly beyond broken. But now I've actually put it in S+. And let me tell you the reason for that. So there's actually several reasons. She didn't actually get nerfed, but she indirectly got nerfed. Let me explain. So they nerfed the Infinity Orb. They made it 300 gold more expensive. What does this mean? This means that Katarina is way less likely to finish the Infinity Orb before the first dragon. And that makes her way worse than normal. Because, other champions might actually finish their first items, so they'll be able to actually beat the Katarina more easily. Because Katarina with an Infinity Orb used to be incredibly broken, and getting it before the first dragon was just so broken on Katarina. Now it's going to be harder. The second reason that Katarina is actually worse now is because of the rise of Pantheon and because of the rise of Diana. Both of these champions work incredibly well into Katarina. So that's why she went from S++ to S+. She is still broken. She's still the best mid laner, but not beyond broken anymore. Okay, Diana, guys, Diana. Now, you guys may know that Diana is good. She is good because of the buff, but is she really S+ tier? So, I believe, like, I remember when I made a tier list when Katarina came out and I put her really high, and I said in that video that people think she's good now, but I thought that she was beyond broken because I thought that if people really get good at her, she'll become super broken. I think the exact same about Diana. Right now, people haven't really played much Diana yet, but I am telling you, within a few days/weeks, I believe that Diana is going to be S+ tier. So comparable to Katarina and Ziggs. Like she's probably going to be like a must-pick champion very soon. Okay. The next one is Ziggs. Guys, Ziggs is still broken. He's so strong. Like, he has everything you need. It's Ziggs. He has the best poke damage. He has incredible escaping ability with his second ability. He wins 1v1s. He destroys turrets. Everything about Ziggs is beautiful. And on top of that, his ultimate is like, wow. His ultimate is a game changer. It deals so much damage in team fights. Okay, so these are the three S+ tier champions. And I really want to say that these three top champions are really strong. And as I said, right now, people may think Diana is like here. But as I said, I put her here already because I think she's the same as Katarina. When people get good at her, she's going to be broken. Okay, after that we have Akali. Akali is, I want to say that Akali is only good if you're a one-trick Akali or like really good at Akali. Now, I feel like Akali is overrated. I really genuinely believe Akali is overrated. By the way, I have a very nice surprise for you guys very soon. Wink, wink. Very nice surprise. I feel like Akali is overrated. She's not that good. Like, she's good, and especially in the low elo, she's good. But in the higher elo, people really understand how to play against her. And again, Pantheon and Diana and Galio are all really good against champions like Katarina and Akali, which indirectly nerfs them. Keep that in mind, guys. And after that, we have Corki. Guys, Corki is so strong right now. He's just an all-round good pick. And when you're against tanky champions, Corki is actually S+ tier. So I want to talk, I'm not going to talk about these ones. Like Orianna is decent, still good. Galio is still good, even after the nerf. I want to talk about a few champions that I have in this tier list right now. First of all is Gragas. Now, Gragas is, I don't want to say underrated because obviously people know that Gragas is good, but Gragas is better than you may think. Gragas can be really good in the mid lane because Gragas hard counters assassins. Yes, guys. Gragas hard counters Katarina. Gragas hard counters Akali. If the enemies pick these assassins, counter pick it with Diana or Gragas or Galio. Don't pick something squishy against it. And that's why Gragas can be good, Another one that I want to talk about is Aurelion Sol. You know, Aurelion Sol is just so bad, guys. Like, don't play Aurelion Sol. The nerfs really destroyed Aurelion Sol. By the way, the turtle guy is Pantheon again, because unfortunately this tier list does not have Pantheon, and Pantheon is viable in the mid lane. As you can see, he's at the bottom of the A tier, but that still means that he's viable. Again, Pantheon is really good into assassins, guys. You're gonna, like, if you play Pantheon against a ranged character, you're gonna get destroyed. But if you play against an assassin, you're gonna do really well. So before going to the next tier list, I just quickly want to say thank you to Gabriel, who donated to the channel. He says, from IGN, don't shoot me, keep up the good work, love the videos. Yo, thank you so much for the donation, man. I really appreciate it. Okay, on to the bot lane tier list. And you know, this one changed a little bit too, actually, and I'm gonna explain. But there is one thing that hasn't changed, which is Kai'Sa. I don't know why they haven't nerfed Kai'Sa, because Kai'Sa is insane. And if you play Kai'Sa well, like if you don't feed in the early game, if you farm really well, you should be able to gather 3,200 gold in the early game and get your items. You can even get it with 3,000. And what I mean with get your items is get the components to upgrade your first ability. If you don't know what I'm talking about right now, watch some of my Kai'Sa videos where I fully explain how you can do it. But basically what I'm saying is you can get a major upgrade on Kai'Sa, on her kit, before the first dragon if you play her well in the early game. And of course, she skills incredibly well into the late game as well. So she's strong in the early game and she's really strong in the late game too. After that, we have Xayah. Xayah is so good, guys. Xayah is also good, but I want to say that Xayah, like, you need to be really good at her, because you need to know where her feathers are and you need to be able to like root the enemies and dodge with your ultimate. So Xayah is quite a high skill cap champion, but she is really strong. Like, as I said before, people may not think that Xayah is on top of the S tier, but I believe she is. I just believe that you have to be good at her. You have to be really good at her. And then of course people may say, yeah, if you're good at any champion, he's S tier, blah. I know, I'm just talking in general. It's like Xayah is really strong, but don't get discouraged if you're feeding with Xayah in your first games. Xayah is like Fiora, you know, it's really hard to play, but once you master the champion, it's incredibly rewarding. Okay, after that we have Jinx. I shouldn't really say too much about Jinx. Jinx is Jinx, you know, with the Blade of the Ruined King and Runaan's Hurricane. You're just Jinx, you can win any game. Okay. Ezreal is still also kind of dominating the ADC role. Like, he's very strong. He skills really well into the late game. Now, the only problem with Ezreal is kind of his early game. He's really weak in the early game. And there's actually one more big problem to Ezreal, which is if the enemy takes the Mountain Dragon, like, you'll become so much weaker if they took the Mountain Dragon, because it kind of deems your first ability useless. Because one big part of Ezreal's kit is his poking. So when the Mountain Dragon spawns, you really have to do everything that it takes to take it when you have an Ezreal. Because like, if they take that dragon, as I said, it's a huge nerf to you. But besides that, Ezreal, when he skills into the late game, like when you do fine in the early game and skill into the late game, they're not gonna make a comeback. Like, you're just gonna keep winning. Because when you get ahead on Ezreal, which is really hard to do, by the way, but when you do get ahead, you'll dominate the game if you don't make too many mistakes. And when you lose the game in the early game, of course, just farm up, just like Jinx, and win the late game. Now, Corki is a really strong ADC too, and that's kind of just because Corki is a very strong champion. The only problem is, however, and keep this in mind, Corki deals a lot of ability power. So when you pick Corki in the ADC role, make sure you have heavy attack damage in the jungle or in the Baron lane, or maybe even in the mid lane, like Zed, for example. Draven is S tier, and honestly, possibly as plus tier if you are insanely good at Draven. And the reason that I'm saying that only for Draven is because if you're actually really good at Draven, you're going to be able to snowball many games, because this champion in the early game, he's obviously like the best early game champion in the whole game. Okay, so if you're able to snowball with Draven and not give your snowballing away, then Draven is S plus tier. But I put him in the S tier, and I almost put him in the A plus tier. And the reason for that is because it's true that he's really good at snowballing, but if you make one mistake and throw the lead, it's really hard to come back, you know, because the enemy ADC is gonna catch up to you, and if that happens, you're useless in the late game, because Draven is absolutely useless in the late game. I mean, not absolutely useless, but useless compared to other ADCs, you know, because he won't do a lot of attack damage. Okay, Jhin is here, and Jhin is only here because he has a lot of damage against squishy targets. Now, let me tell you quickly something about Jhin. Only pick Jhin if you're against like a Janna or a Nami or Seraphim, you know, a squishy support. Don't pick Jhin against Alistar or Braum or something like that, because if you do that, it's going to be really, really hard to play against that. Like, I suggest you to pick Jhin if the enemies don't really have big front lines, because Jhin really struggles against front lines. Okay, I don't know why I put Fizz here. That I didn't really mean to put Fizz in here. Wait, did I miss him in the mid lane? Oh no, he's here. Okay. So yeah, that's it about the ADC role. Let's go to the Baron lane. And this one changed up a little bit too, because I played a lot of champions and I concluded that Malphite is not as plus tier anymore, guys. Like, I've played a lot of champions, and let me explain to you. I'm actually going to start with Malphite. So it's true that Malphite has the amazing ultimate, and it's true that they buffed items that are really good for Malphite, but I still put him in the S tier and not in the S plus tier. And the reason for that is because Malphite actually loses a lot of lanes now. Darius should destroy Malphite. Camille should do okay against Malphite. Fiora should destroy Malphite. Gragas is good against Malphite. Even Nasus hard counters Malphite, guys. So this is like, I was thinking, like, it's true that Malphite has this ultimate, but he's like, he's just not that good anymore. Like, he's the same, but I just really believe that he's not as plus tier. So let's go to Darius. By the way, I really want to say that this is a solo queue tier list. Of course, in team play, like, it's different, but this is solo queue. Darius is the best solo queue Baron laner ever. He's really strong in the lane, really strong in team fights. Now, the only problem that you have on Darius is when you get to the very late game, it can be hard because when you go in, they can just focus you, right? But the way that you can play Darius is like, you know, you just gotta get your Noxie and Might stacks and then you're gonna dunk everyone. I have many Darius videos. If you really want to learn Darius, just look up HellsDevil Darius. I have like 20 million Darius videos. I quickly want to say that in the last tier list video, I know I promised you to do Singed, and I am seriously working on it. I'm playing Singed almost every day now, but I'm just not good enough at him yet to bring you guys a video. But I promise you, you can look at my history in game. I am doing Singed, okay? And you know, now that we're talking about Singed, I personally believe that Singed could be underrated, but I still put him in the B tier because, you know, like, it's kind of hard to decide. I believe Singed could possibly be A tier, but not S tier. It's just like in solo queue. Okay, in team play, Singed can be S tier. Really, I genuinely believe in team play, Singed can possibly be S tier. But in solo queue, like, Singed is not a solo queue, solo carry champion. Singed is the type of champion that kind of plays safe in the early game, and in the late game, you're gonna be super fast. And you're gonna be so annoying with your fart gas, you know, like the fart gas behind Singed is gonna slow all the enemies, do insane damage. You're gonna be tanky. That's like, Singed can be really strong in certain matchups, guys, but not in solo queue. Camille is insane as well. Camille is fine in the early game. You can just chill with your second ability. Camille's ultimate is one of the best abilities in the whole game because you can single out any target. And of course, Camille in the late game is really strong too. Camille is always going to be a solid pick. So, you know, S plus tier. Now we have Fiora in the S tier, and I've actually brought her down from the S plus tier, and the reason for that is really because her team fighting is trash. Like, everything is super good about Fiora: split pushing, 1v1s, her laning, everything except for team fighting, and that's actually a pretty big thing. So she's still really strong, but S tier, not S plus tier. Okay, about Gragas, again, like, Gragas is always a solid pick, and a very important thing to note, Gragas counters assassins. If the enemies have a lot of assassins, especially Akali in that lane, just pick Gragas, guys, okay? And Akali, you know, as I said, it's the same story as the mid lane part, you know, one trick Akali, really good, but you just have to be really good at Akali for her to work. Okay, now a very interesting one. Nasus on top of the A tier. Nasus has never been this high, guys. Nasus has never been this high in my tier list, and let me explain. This needs a proper explanation. Okay. Nasus is trash in the early game. Beyond trash, okay? But I want to say something about Nasus. It's kind of important to pick him in the right matchup. And what I mean with that is to pick him into a matchup that cannot completely destroy you. A really good example is Malphite. Another good example is Cannon. And another good example could possibly be Olaf. Like, you can also do fine against Olaf. But if you play against a Darius or a Fiora, for example, it can be really hard to make Nasus work, because if the Darius or Fiora are good players, they will be able to punish you really hard. But still, he can work. So let me explain. On Darius, on Nasus, obviously you farm. And when you get to the mid game and you farmed a lot of minions, you like, if in mid game, Nasus is actually S plus tier. I'm not kidding with you guys. If you don't feed in the early game, this is a very important thing to note. Don't feed in the early game. Farm up as much as you can. You can even give away first drag. No, I'm not gonna say all this. If you want to learn how to play Nasus, I have like a million Nasus videos. Just look up HellsDevil Nasus. Basically, in the mid game and in the late game, Nasus is S plus tier. It's just his early game. In the early game, Nasus is D tier. And that's why he's like in the A tier and not in the S plus tier. It's all because of his early game. Okay, well, who else should I talk about here in this tier list? I talked about Sinch too. Yeah, I think, yeah, the other ones make sense. You know, these guys can work, but they're just nothing compared to the top charts. Okay, we got the jungle, and this one has changed a lot as well. And as you can see, I've always talked very nicely about Evelynn, like, you know, Evelynn being in the S plus tier, but now she's in the S tier. Why? Same as Katarina, guys. And she indirectly got nerfed. Let me tell you why again. Infinity Orb got nerfed, which is a core item on Evelynn. Secondly, Galio is really good into Evelynn, because Galio is good into Assassins. You know, you can pick Gragas. And what was the other one? Diana. Yes, the Diana buff. Diana is also really good into Evelynn. Really good, guys. So keep that in mind. That's why Evelynn got indirectly nerfed and put down to the S tier. She's still really strong though. Don't get me wrong, she's still really strong. She's just not broken anymore. Lee Sin is dominating the jungle again, guys. Like, Lee Sin is so strong. He's just back in the meta, you know. And I shouldn't really talk too much about Lee Sin. Basically, early game champion, but it's really easy to gank in the early game. He's just like, he has slows, knockbacks, everything in the early game. He can catch you out from a super long range. Like, you know, if you want to learn Lee Sin, he's kind of hard to learn, but once you've understood him and learned how to rotate with him, he's very strong in the early game. Vi is a wait, no, let's go to the Baron lane. I wanted to talk about Vi. Pick Vi against Akali. Vi counters Akali. Okay, back to the jungle. Yeah, as you can see, Vi, Shyvana, Jarvan, these are all really solid jungle picks. You know, they're always gonna work. And you know, I always talk about them. Like, Shyvana really good with dragons. Vi is really good at ganks, and Vi also skills really well into the late game. I want to talk about Pantheon too. The turtle is Pantheon. Like, they don't have Pantheon in this tier list. Pantheon is so strong in this meta right now. And I don't know why I put him here, actually. I should have... No. I know why I put him here. Because, like, the other ones are just way stronger than him. Like, trust me, guys. Pantheon, in the early game, Pantheon is S plus tier. In the early game. Like, literally next to Lee Sin. But the problem is, in the late game, Pantheon is like D tier, maybe like C tier, maybe even D tier. That's the only reason why he's not in the S tier right now. So on Pantheon, you have to win the early game. Like, Lee Sin in the late game is weak, but it's like, Lee Sin is just stronger than Pantheon. That's the thing. It's easier to snowball on Lee Sin than Pantheon. But Pantheon, you have to see him as Lee Sin. You have to win the early game, and it's quite easy to win the early game because they buffed his damage, they buffed his base damage, they buffed his first ability damage, and his second ability is really good to catch out an enemy, you know. I made a Pantheon jungle video the other day. If you really want to learn him, watch that video. He's really strong right now. Amumu jungle, you know, always a solid pick. It's just his early game is really weak, and he, like, Lee Sin and Pantheon and Evelynn are just really gonna destroy him in the early game. Even like all the other champions are just gonna destroy him in the early game. The only good thing about Amumu is this big AoE ultimate, of course, you know. Another thing to note about Amumu is Amumu actually has a passive, or his ability, I don't know what it is, but it deals true damage equal to percentage HP of the enemy. What does that mean? If the enemies have a lot of tanks, Amumu is a really nice pick, okay? Let's go to the next. Wait, should we go to the next list? I feel like something is missing. I really feel like something is missing. But what is it? What shall it be, guys? Of course, it's the Yi tier. This is still to that 0.8 Master Yi. I think it's been like 7 months now, but yes, still. you know, I haven't had enough of you yet. Okay, on to the last tier list, guys. Jungle. This one has changed as well. Alistar got a minor nerf, but I just feel like people are kind of discovering Janna and Braum right now. Alistar is still, you know, the best support, but Janna and Braum are very, very comparable to Alistar, and like they're just all in the S plus tier. And Janna, I really want to talk about Janna because Janna is super, super, super strong, guys. And if you really want to learn jungle support, pick up Janna. Like, Janna is the type of support that can really win a game. Like, she can actually carry the ADC. It's kind of funny because her second ability deals so much damage. And another thing to note about Janna is she's super fast. She can rotate to mid lane, rotate to jungle, everything. She has this unique bonus movement speed, you know, which no other support has, which makes her super fast to rotate. So you're going to be able to rotate like way faster than the enemy support. I have many Janna videos as well on my YouTube channel. You know, if you want to learn it, if you want to learn any champion, just look up HellsDevil and then the champion name, and you know, I'll likely have a video of them. Okay, we have Nami here too. Nami is also really, really strong. Her ultimate, her sustain in lane, her bubble, everything about Nami is just amazing. I was even considering to put her in the S tier, S plus tier, but then I just, you know, she is really strong, but not like Alistar, Braum, and Janna. Okay, we also have Sona here, and of course Sona, you know, with the big sustain healing in the late game, she's crazy good in the late game. Also pretty nice in the early game because you can poke the enemy with your third ability. But again, she's not comparable to the top 3. I want to talk about Gragas. Again, guys, Gragas, you know, pick Gragas against assassins. Gragas can also be a good support if you're playing against a squishy comp, like a squishy lane, I'm sorry. If the enemy picks Janna support, you can actually counter it by picking Gragas because you're gonna outdamage the Janna with your first ability, and you can also all-in them. So trust me, Gragas support is good, guys. Another one that I want to talk about is Pantheon, which is the turtle again. You know, Pantheon got a buff. Pantheon is really, really nice as a support as well. I want to talk about Pantheon's ultimate actually. Like, his ultimate can be really good when you're playing support because you can always rotate to your jungle, you can rotate to mid lane. So that's a really, really nice thing about Pantheon. Rakan, I want to talk about Rakan too. Rakan is really good against Evelynn especially. I really want to point that out, guys. If the enemy picks Evelynn, pick Rakan. It's really, 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 really good. Really good, okay? Also, another thing to note about Rakan. Rakan is a very, very nice anti-dive champion. So if the enemies have Kai'Sa, for example, because Kai'Sa has her ultimate, which allows her to dive, Rakan counters that. Because, first of all, Rakan's third ability gives a shield to the ally, and Rakan's first ability heals the ally. So when the enemy Kai'Sa thinks that she can kill you, like if you're 1 HP, what you can do on Rakan, you know, just do your combos, your third ability, your first ability, use heal, and the enemy Kai'Sa is just gonna die. Same goes to enemy Alistar. Like if they dive you, you can just defend it with Rakan. Okay, I think that was it for the for the video. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next Wild Rift video. Bye bye.